Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to explain The Solitary Reaper by William Wordsworth. First of all, we'll discuss poet's introduction. William Wordsworth from 1770 to 1850 was a renowned English romantic poet, best known for his celebration of nature and his pioneering contributions to the Romantic movement. He was famous for his works like Line Composed a few miles above Tintern Abbey and I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, also known as Daffodils. His most influential work, Lyrical Ballad, in 1798 marked a turning point in English poetry, emphasizing the power of nature and the importance of individual experience. Poem's introduction. This poem was written in 1805 and published in 1807. This poem is an emotional and philosophic reaction of a speaker to a solitary working woman in a field of Scottish Highland. The poet encountered a woman who was reaping the barley and singing a melancholy song. This poem was not only highlights the fleeting nature of the beauty, but also it portrays the Wordsworth romantic idealizations of nature and beauty, of solitude, the beauty of emotions, the beauty and power of nature. This poem also showcase Wordsworth's philosophy that every experience of beauty of nature have a lasting, everlasting impact on human mind. So this title, The Solitary Reaper, signifies the Wordsworth focus on the lone figure of the Highland girl singing while reaping in the field. The word solitary emphasizes her isolation, symbolizing the individuality, while the reaper connects her to the nature. So the isolation and nature. So also this reaper we could say symbolize the cycle of life. So together title highlights the harmony between human emotions and the nature world, encapsulated in her melancholic yet timeless song. These are some of the difficult words from the stanza number one. Note them. Now let's start reading the stanza number one. Behold her, single in the field, yon solitary highland lass, reaping and singing by herself. Stop here, or gently pass. Along she cuts and binds the grain, and sings a melancholy strain. Oh, listen, for the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. Now, in these first two lines, behold her, single in the field, yon solitary highland lass. Wordsworth is using a literary device of imagery. Imagery is a literary device that uses vivid and descriptive language to create sensory experience for the reader. It helps evoke a visual, auditory, tactile, olfactory, or gustatory impressions, making scenes and emotions more relatable and engaging. So by this description in the first two lines, we can imagine the girl in front of her eyes. So that's an example of imagery. So the poet begins with drawing the reader's attention toward a solitary figure of a woman working alone in the field. And by this solitary highland lass, he conveys both her isolation and her connection to nature. As he says, solitary, isolation, and highland. Highland means you say mountains, girl, something. So that could be the connection to nature. So in these words, we can say he conveys both isolation and his and her connection to nature. Reaping and singing by herself. Now he's telling about the solitary labor paired with her song. Now he's describing the connection between her work and natural beauty influence or pleasure on her. Because we sing while we are working only when we find pleasure in our work. So she's reaping and she is finding pleasure in that reaping. That is why she is singing along with that. Stop here or gently pass. Now in this line there is another literary device, apostrophe. An apostrophe is a literary device in which the speaker directly addressed to an absent person, a concept, or an inanimate object as if it were capable of responding. This device is often used to express deep emotions or contemplations, making abstract ideas or distant entities feel personal and present. So, in this line, stop here or gently pass, Wordsworth is directly calling to talking to readers to stop, to watch, enjoy, or otherwise just gently pass her without disturbing her or grasping her attention, which would embarrass her, which could awkward her, which could disturb the sacred moment. Alone, she cuts and binds the grain and sings a melancholy strain. Now, these lines describes the labor and emotional tone of the song. Woman is physically engaged in her work of cutting and binding grain, while the song expresses sadness. So there's a contrast between her surrounding, the beauty of her surrounding, and her sadness of her song. So there is why there's a change of tone in "Sing a Melancholy Strain." Tone is a literary device that conveys the author's attitude or perspective toward the subject, audience, or character. It is established through the writer's choice of words, imagery, syntax, or other elements, creating an emotional or intellectual response in the reader. So, in this line, sings a melancholy strain. The choice of words of Wordsworth changes, so we can say the tone of this line is different from the previous lines of this stanza. Oh, listen for the veil profound. Now we can see that Wordsworth is again using apostrophe while he's saying, "Oh, listen." Now he's talking. He's again talking to the listeners, to the readers. So he's again using that literary device of apostrophe. Oh, listen for the veil profound is overflowing with the sound. Now this veil profound is an example of personification. A personification is a literary device in which human attributes, emotions, or actions are assigned to non human entities such as animal, inanimate objects, or abstract concepts. It is used to make descriptions more vivid, relatable, and emotionally resonate for the reader. So, in these lines, Wordsworth is urging listeners to pay attention to the song. He's saying to listen. He's urging them to listen. He's suggesting that the landscape, that the valley itself, the fine beauty of the nature itself is filled with the sound of her singing. You can say the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. The valley itself is overflowing with the sound. We can say enjoying the sound. So here, Wordsworth implies a deep, almost spiritual quality to the valley of enjoying the sound or overflowing with the sound. So this enjoying the sound is an human attribute which he is giving to the valley. So that's an example of personification. These are some difficult words on stanza number 2. Please note them. Let's start with stanza number 2. No nightingale did ever chant more welcome notes to weary bands of traveller in some shady haunt among Arabian sands. A voice so thrilling near was heard in springtime from the cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. Now, in these lines, Wordsworth is continuously using a literary device of metaphor. Metaphor is a literary device that makes a direct comparison between two unrelated things, suggesting that they are alike in some way without using like or as. Metaphors are powerful tools for creating vivid imagery and conveying complex ideas or emotions in a concise and impactful way. So here, Wordsworth is comparing the song of the girl, that girl who was cutting, binding, and singing a melancholy song, to the song of the nightingale. Okay, so he compares the woman's song to the famous song of nightingale, and which usually considered the most beautiful voice of the nightingale. So it symbolizes the beauty and the joy of Wordsworth while listening to that song. So this is an example of metaphor. So he says that the woman's song is as comforting as a nightingale's song, or we can say that woman's song is more comforting than the nightingale song would be to the travelers in some hot, barren landscape of Arabian sands when they are weary and when they are so tired. So, and nightingale's song encourage them restore them. So this song is more comforting than that nightingale song. So this Arabian sand is also an example of illusion. Illusion is a literary device where the author refers to a person, place, event, or a work of art, often indirectly. These references rely on the reader's familiarity with the subject to add depth or context to the text. Allusions can enhance the meaning by connecting the content to broader cultural, historical, or literary ideas. So, Arabian sand is an allusion to some exotic, distant, barren place where the berry bands try to rest in some shady place. This four lines is also an example of imagery because they create an image in front of our eyes with these words. A voice so thrilling never was heard in spring from the cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. Now, these four lines are an example of hyperbole. Hyperbole is a figure of speech that involves exaggerated statements or claims not meant to be taken literally. Writers use hyperbole to emphasize an idea, evoke strong emotions, or create a dramatic effect. So when the poet says that the voice of the girl singing is so thrilling that he never heard that kind of voice, and that's more beautiful than the cuckoo bird sound, and that voice can be heard across the seas till the Hebrides. Now that's an example of hyperbole because Hebrides is the chain of Scottish islands. So it's an example of hyperbole. This power of song in example of hyperbole. Also, this is an example of illusion because Wordsworth uses an illusion of Hebrides, and this is also an example of imagery because Wordsworth created this imagery, this uh, long chain of islands, this seas among them in front of us. So, in these four lines, Wordsworth continues to compare the woman's song to the springtime call of a cuckoo bird, which is known for its thrilling and its repetitive cry. Song of Woman is so striking that it even competes with the powerful silence of the sea. Because Wordsworth say that these voice break that silence. He suggests that the song's far-reaching emotional power is capable of affecting distant and remote places. So this is the power of this song. Will no one tell me what she sings? Perhaps the plaintive number flows for old, unhappy, far off things and battles long ago. Or is it some more humbly familiar matter of today, some natural sorrow, loss, or pain that has been or may be again? Now, this stanza starts with a rhetoric question. Rhetoric question is a question asked for effect or to make a point rather than to elicit an answer. The answer is often implied or obvious, and the purpose is to provoke thought, emphasize a theme, or engage the reader. So, this question, will no one tell me what she sings, is a rhetoric question because obviously no one is there to tell him that what she sings because he was alone and uh, obviously the girl was not going to tell him that what was she singing, and maybe their language was different so she couldn't be able to tell him what she was thinking. So that's a rhetoric question. Also, this question was there in order to create a curiosity among the readers, also to sh- sorry, also to show the curiosity and longing of the speaker that what the song's lyrics might mean. Now, this word plaintive suggests that the song is mournful or sorrowful, and the speaker is speculating that the song could be about some past suffering, some loss, some war. Now he's asking another rhetoric question, or is it some humble lay, familiar matter of today? So he's wondering whether the song is about personal sorrow, something, something that happens regularly in everyone's life, some natural sorrow, loss, or pain that has, or maybe again. Now he's suggesting that human suffering is universal. Okay, for example, losing someone is the pain that everyone has to go through. So it is the natural sorrow that has been must have been passed on that girl of losing someone, or if it's not the same, if it's not the point of her singing, then then it will happen with her. That she will lose something, because that is the natural sorrow, that is the human suffering, which is universal, and that will happen with everybody. So he's giving this idea in these lines. And these are some difficult words from the last stanza. Note them. Moving to our last stanza, whatever the theme the maiden sang, as if her song could have no ending. I saw her singing at her work, and over the sickle bending I listened, motionless and still. As I mounted up the hill, the music in my heart I bore, long after it was heard no more. Now Wordsworth overcame that idea of guessing that what was the song about, and now he's acknowledging that regardless of the theme of the song, the woman sing, uh, he's saying that whatever the theme the maiden sang, as if a song could have no ending. He says that the woman sing with such emotion and engagement, it seems that if her song has no ending, that song is never going to end. It was so beautiful and so lasting. Now, this doesn't mean that she was not going to end singing. This shows the timeless power of her music. I saw her singing at her work and over the sickle bending. Now, her song and her work are both simultaneously happening. I listened. Now this is that's an the example. That's whole paragraph, we can say whole stanza is an example of imagery. So this I saw her singing and over the sickle bending. That's an example of imagery. I listened and motionless and still, and as I mounted up the hill, the music in my heart I bore long after it was heard no more. So the speaker was so much moved by the song that he remained still and listened intently. So as the song faded away by moving forward, its emotional impact remains intact with him. Now, this deep and lingering effect of the song on the speaker suggests that the moment of the beauty continues to resonate long after the moment ends. Still, it has its lasting impact on the person. As we can use our reference of Keats' line when he says that a thing of beauty is a joy forever. That a single moment of beauty will give you will give you joy forever in your life. So a thing of beauty is a joy forever by John Keats. So the whole idea of the poem was to celebrate the beauty of the nature, and the when Wordsworth also invites reader to appreciate the quiet and smallest solitary moments of your lives. So the main themes of the poems are power of music, as Wordsworth described, that power of the girl's music is more than the power of Nightingale's music, more than the power of Cuckoo Bird's music, and even more than, and it has so much power that it could break the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. So he describes the power of music. He's described the solitary and isolation of the girl, how girl was so isolated in that nature, and she was doing her work. The transience of fame and memory, sorry, the transience of time and memory. So Wordsworth discussed the transience, that how the time and memory pass away, that he wanted to stay there, he wanted to listen to that music endlessly, but he couldn't. The passage of time, the transience of time, he had to go, he had to move forward and connection to nature. So Wordsworth had a deep connection to nature. That girl had a deep connection to nature, and they both had a very pleasant effect of that connection to nature. Hope you enjoyed watching the video. If you have any question regarding the video, you can ask in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share the video, and also subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. Give your worthy suggestions about the next video to explain in the comments below.